めないなら、御父は人類の上に大いなる罰を下そうとされております。
Sister Agnes Sasagawa's chilling predictions for 2024 are unfolding in ways that few expected. Known for her visions in Akita, Japan during the 1970s, she warned of dark times ahead. She claimed that messages from the Virgin Mary, delivered through a weeping statue, revealed troubling events for the church and the world.
その時に留守番を仰せ使って目上が出かける時にいつも通りに
Could her haunting visions from decades ago be coming true this year? Join us as we explore the shocking details of Sister Sasagawa's terrifying prophecies that will impact today. A woman's unbreakable spirit. Before we dive into what Sister Sasagawa foresaw for 2024, let's spend a bit of time getting to know this incredible woman's life story. Sister Agnes Katsuko Sasagawa is a name that echoes with tenacity and deep faith. Born in Japan on May 28, 1931, she arrived prematurely into a life that would be full of health challenges from the get-go. Growing up, she faced numerous health struggles that tested her strength but never broke her spirit. Before we delve into her predictions, it's clear that what Sister Sasagawa foresaw is far more alarming than anyone expected, and what's coming next will leave you absolutely stunned. When she was 19 years old, a medical error during a routine surgery for appendicitis left her with paralysis affecting her central nervous system. This severe condition kept her bedridden and shuffled between hospitals for a whopping 16 years, enduring one surgery after another. Yet her life took a hopeful turn in a clinic in Miyoko, Niigata, where she met a nurse named Miss W. This nurse was not only skilled, but also deeply devoted to her Catholic faith, which she shared with Sister Sasagawa.
That one of the main messages in miracles takes place at Akita on October 13th, 1973.
This meeting was pivotal. It not only helped Sister Sasagawa improve health-wise, but also introduced her to a faith that would reshape her entire life. Emboldened by her new faith, Sister Sasagawa decided to dedicate herself entirely to religious life. Despite their initial reservations about her ongoing health issues, her family came around to support her decision, and she entered the Congregation of the Sisters of the Immaculate Heart of Mary in Nagasaki. Her commitment deepened, and by 1969, she joined the Handmaids of the Eucharist, a religious community that allowed her to live a life of consecration while still engaging with society. Her trials weren't over yet, though. Early in 1973, she encountered a massive setback when she lost her hearing, diagnosed with a condition that promised only further deterioration. But Sister Sasagawa was not one to give up easily. She learned to read lips and continued communicating with those around her. Then, in a remarkable turn during a prayer session in 1974, she experienced a vision of an angel who told her that her hearing would be temporarily restored later that year. From August to October, her hearing came back, just as the angel had said, though it lasted only for 5 months. In 1982, during a significant religious celebration, another angelic message came to her. This time, the message was even more hopeful. Her hearing would be completely restored for good through the divine help of the Virgin Mary. Remarkably, this prediction also came true, further cementing Sister Sasagawa's faith in her inspiring story. But the wondrous events in her life didn't just affect her directly. In 1983, another miracle occurred when Miss Teresa Chun from Korea, who was in a terminal state from brain cancer and unresponsive in a coma, miraculously recovered. This happened after pilgrims prayed at the convent where Sister Sasagawa lived, an event many attributed to the miraculous intervention of Our Lady of Akita. Sister Sasagawa's life is filled with such incredible moments. On one ordinary day in June 1973, as she walked into the chapel, she was greeted by an unusual light radiating from the tabernacle, an indication that something extraordinary was about to happen. Indeed, 2 days later, during her prayer, the light appeared again, this time colored vivid red.
She's in Japan, and I flew over to Japan to try to find her, and I didn't know at the time that she was intentionally being kept in hiding by the Catholic Church leadership.
An occurrence that signaled the forthcoming spiritual events narrated by Father Yasuda. And the spiritual encounters didn't stop there. On the eve of the Feast of the Sacred Heart in June 1973, as Sister Sasagawa and her fellow nuns were deep in meditation, they witnessed an amazing sight, a host of angels around the altar. The following day, during a prayer session, she saw a figure to her right. It was her guardian angel, bringing her prayers and messages similar to those once delivered to the young visionaries of Fatima back in 1916. That same day brought another intense spiritual experience. Sister Sasagawa felt a sharp pain in her left palm and arm, and upon looking, she saw a bleeding mark shaped like a cross. This physical manifestation was not only on her, but also appeared on the wooden statue of the Virgin Mary in the chapel, which started bleeding in the same pattern. Just when it seemed like things couldn't get more intense, the amazing events kept happening, deeply touching everyone around her. A divine sign leaves many speechless. The following months and years continued to unfold with dramatic spiritual phenomena. On September 29, 1973, during an evening prayer session, the statue of the Virgin Mary that had previously bled began to emit a fragrant, oily sweat, astounding all who were present. Perhaps one of the most emotionally stirring incidents occurred on January 4, 1975, when the same statue began to weep real tears, a phenomenon scientifically verified to involve human tears. On October 15, 1983, Sister Sasagawa's influence reached even further when Miss Teresa Chun, previously comatose from terminal brain cancer in Korea, woke up following the divine intervention credited to prayers at Sister Sasagawa's convent, with before and after x-rays showing the miraculous recovery. Back in 1973, something pretty incredible happened to Sister Agnes Katsuko Sasagawa. She was in a small chapel in Akita, Japan, when she received 3 mind-blowing messages from the Virgin Mary.
Way of introduction, as a general rule, the Fatima Center does focus on the message and the appearances of Our Lady of Fatima.
These messages didn't just strengthen her faith. They sent shockwaves through the entire Catholic community around the world. What's even more amazing is how these messages came through. It all started on a regular day, July 6, 1973. Sister Sasagawa was just doing her usual prayers in the chapel when suddenly, the environment took a dramatic turn. The statue of the Virgin Mary there, which was made out of a single piece of Japanese katsura wood, began to shine brightly. This wasn't just any shine, it was a divine light marking the beginning of something extraordinary. During this first encounter, the Virgin Mary recognized the physical signs of Sister Sasagawa's spiritual calling. She had stigmata and a hearing impairment, which the Virgin Mary pointed out as significant. The message she gave was crystal clear. It was all about making things right with faith. Sister Sasagawa got a pretty specific instruction to keep saying the handmaids of the Eucharist prayer. It was stressed that this prayer wasn't just for her own healing, but was also crucial for the world's salvation through the Eucharist. This call to action was about more than just her own health challenges. It was a plea for deeper spiritual devotion and advocacy for the betterment of the Church and its leaders. The Virgin Mary told her to focus on praying the Rosary and carrying out acts of reparation. These were described as potent tools to counteract the sins of the world. On August 3, things got even more intense. The Virgin Mary expressed a deep sadness over the bad things people do, which she said really hurt the Lord. She urged everyone to try to comfort Christ and reduce the Heavenly Father's anger. She didn't just suggest it, she warned that if people didn't change their ways, a terrible punishment would come down on everyone, good or bad. Sister Sasagawa was given a heavy responsibility to pass these urgent warnings to her superior. She had to emphasize how critical these messages were. They even mentioned the devil's sneaky influence within the Church, hinting at internal strife and a potential fall-off in faith that could shake the Church to its core. On October 13th, the anniversary of the miracle of the sun at Fatima, the Virgin Mary gave her third and most daunting message.
A number of Our Lady's apparitions across the course of history, especially intensifying in what we believe is the Age of Mary.
She predicted a catastrophe involving fire from the sky, worse than any past disaster. She painted a bleak picture of the aftermath, where surviving would feel worse than death. But there was also a glimmer of hope. She presented the Rosary and the legacy of Christ as the only ways to survive the hard times ahead. The focus on the rosary was reiterated, highlighting its crucial role in supporting key church figures like the Pope, bishops, and priests. After these wild events began, a deep investigation kicked off, driven by Sister Sasagawa's intense experiences and the supernatural events tied to the Virgin Mary statue. The local church authorities felt compelled to look into it. This wasn't your everyday investigation. It was a deep, drawn-out probe into the heart of these astonishing claims that had not only the local community, but also people worldwide sitting up and taking notice. As these incredible things grabbed attention worldwide, an official investigation started, but the results left many questions. The church's search for truth. The official inquiry started around 1975, when Bishop John Shojiro Ito of Niigata, stirred by the convent's reports, reached out to the Vatican's Congregation for the Doctrine of the Faith, CDF, responsible for upholding doctrine. At this point, the supernatural happenings were the talk of the town, sparking interest far beyond Akita's borders. Following the protocols recently established for such situations, the CDF told Bishop Ito that he needed to take the lead on this as the local authority. Thus, in 1976, an investigative team was put together. However, this team couldn't definitively say whether the events were supernatural, leaving a lot of unanswered questions. But Bishop Ito wasn't about to let it go. Armed with new instructions from the CDF and driven by the ongoing curious events, he pushed for a more thorough investigation. By 1981, more convincing evidence seemed to back up the supernatural claims, prompting Ito to gather all the new information into a comprehensive file. Despite his hard work, the initial reaction from the CDF was cool. They weren't convinced and turned down the idea of a new investigation. Still, Bishop Ito wasn't one to easily back down. In 1982, he suggested that maybe the CDF had misunderstood earlier and met with CDF officials in 1983 to make his case again. His persistence paid off. By 1984, after nearly 8 years of careful analysis and reflection, Bishop Ito made a major move. He officially recognized the supernatural nature of the events linked to the statue at the convent. He allowed people within his diocese to venerate the Holy Mother of Akita, noting that this was a private revelation and didn't hold the same importance as public revelations critical for salvation. His statement was cautiously worded, making it clear that his acknowledgement was temporary, awaiting a final say from higher-ups.
連所よという呼びかけでお話しくださいましたですけど、その時は
His wording was careful, allowing room for more inquiries by top church authorities and showing his respect for the church's hierarchy and his commitment to uncovering the truth. Things took another twist in June 1988 when a now-retired Bishop Ito met with Cardinal Joseph Ratzinger, then the head of the CDF. Cardinal Ratzinger informally backed Ito's 1984 letter, a significant but understated endorsement. However, he stopped short of giving a formal verdict on the event's credibility, maintaining the Vatican's careful stance. Despite these moves within the church, opinions remained split. In 1990, Archbishop Peter Seiichi Shirayanagi of Tokyo, then president of the Catholic Bishops' Conference of Japan, expressed skepticism about the Akita events, telling the Italian magazine 2024-30, Giorni 2024, that they should no longer be taken seriously. This statement marked a notable shift in how the Japanese church viewed the Akita events, highlighting the complex and often contentious nature of confirming supernatural happenings within the church. Throughout many church investigations and deep discussions on spirituality, the Vatican has stayed quiet about the events at Akita, leaving them without a final say. However, Bishop Ito's approval still stands because no one after him or from the Vatican has said otherwise. This means, by the rules of the Church, that the visions are still officially recognized in the Niigata diocese. You might think that was the end of it, but more than 40 years after those earth-shaking visions in Akita, Japan, Sister Agnes Sasagawa grabbed the world's attention again in 2019. This low-key nun, who had been living quietly since those first visions, got a new message that hit close to home with the global crisis happening at that time.
Again, not a word about the apparition message of Akita. So this, I guess we'll poke around here a little bit and you can see kind of what I'm saying. And we're here during hours.
On a quiet October morning, Sister Sasagawa felt a familiar divine presence. Her guardian angel, who hadn't spoken to her in many years, woke her up with some urgent instructions that reminded her of past visits. The angel's message was straightforward and deep. Cover yourself in ashes and please pray a rosary of reparation every day. Become like a child. Please offer sacrifices every day. Broadcast by WQPH 98.3 FM, a Catholic radio station in Massachusetts. This message stirred up the Catholic community and beyond. It brought back the long-standing call for repentance and simplicity. The message used old-fashioned language that reminded people of the deep roots of penance and renewal. Putting ashes on oneself is a traditional sign of mourning and asking for forgiveness, showing regret for sins and a desire for mercy. The call to be like a child brings up Jesus' teachings about needing a pure heart and humility to enter heaven. All these points drive home the need to get back to the basics of faith: simplicity, purity, and true devotion. Years after those unforgettable events, Sister Sasagawa surprised the world again with a new message that everyone listened to: a call to pray for the world. The request to pray a daily rosary of reparation keeps up Sister Sasagawa's theme of prayerful intervention, pointing out how crucial it is in the complex spiritual struggles of today's world. This practice isn't just a ritual, it's a vital tool in the spiritual fight against the evils that haunt our society, like wars, sickness, and moral breakdowns. Placing the 2019 message in context of recent global happenings helps understand its importance. The continuing conflict in Ukraine, increasing tensions in the Middle East, and the unexpected pandemic that swept across the globe are just a few of the crises we've seen. These events haven't just caused worldwide pain, they've also made people everywhere think more deeply about their spiritual lives and priorities. Moreover, the rising number of severe natural disasters has made it clear we need a spiritual answer. Sister Sasagawa's message urges everyone to look past the material and think about the spiritual effects of these crises. The emphasis on daily sacrifices shows that every person has a part to play in healing the world by making personal sacrifices and praying. Including the idea of daily sacrifices in her message also reminds us about the power of small, personal acts of kindness and penance in a world often focused on big, headline-making actions. The message reinforces the importance of quiet, sometimes unnoticed, acts of charity and self-denial. Interestingly, the reactions to this new message vary, reflecting how people first reacted to the Akita messages. While some see it as a prophetic warning, others see it as just reinforcing basic Christian duties.
The Olympic blasphemy of those opening ceremonies, in many ways, some people will say.
On the 6th of July, 2024, it will be 50 years since those first visions at Akita stirred up calls for penance and prayer. But what Sister Sasagawa predicted for 2024 has astonished the whole world. She gave a forecast for the end of the year if we don't follow the Virgin Mary's guidance. It's rare for a nun from a quiet Japanese convent to stir the global conversation, but that's exactly what happened when Sister Sasagawa, now an esteemed figure at 93, gave a new message that echoed across continents. Known for her role in the divine messages at Akita, her latest prediction has spread a feeling of urgency far and wide. The message she shared came during a nighttime visit on the eve of the 50th anniversary of Akita. Her heavenly visitor was her guardian angel, who has long been known for delivering divine messages. Sister Sasagawa's forecast for 2024 wasn't just about spiritual renewals or minor changes in daily worship. It was dramatic, a real-time unfolding spiritual saga. She described visions of natural disasters, social unrest, and spiritual crises, claiming these events would surpass any previous challenges if humanity didn't listen to her warnings. Why such urgency, you might ask? According to her message, the world is at a crucial turning point. The choices we make now through prayer and actions could either prevent or trigger a series of divine responses aimed at correcting humanity's misguided paths. The details of Sister Sasagawa's forecast paint a vivid picture. Erratic weather patterns throwing life off balance, political tensions spilling into new and dangerous areas, and a noticeable decline in human warmth.
愛する私の娘よ。この時はすごく厳しいお声でした。愛する私の娘よ。
In 2024, there will be an awakening, she declared, suggesting a double meaning, a harsh realization of the consequences of our accumulated wrongdoings and a spiritual awakening if we heed her call for repentance. The reaction to her prophecy has been as varied as the global audience it reached. Critics dismiss it as end-time excitement, not suitable for a modern, rational world. Yet believers and spiritual leaders around the world are echoing her call, organizing prayer meetings and rosary recitations, their resolve strengthened by the respect her earlier messages have maintained over time, treated with reverence rather than skepticism. Are Sister Sasagawa's predictions for 2024 just coincidence? Or is there a deeper truth behind her visions? Tell us what you think, and don't forget to like and subscribe for more.